Hello, everybody. I am one of your hosts, Scott, coming to you from Toronto, having a little bit of a Canada hangover. Happy Canada Day, Andy.
Happy Canada Day. Fantastic. Oh, it's been a few years since I've been there on Canada Day, but it's always good because it's usually raining.
Not wrong.
Well, I'm Andy, coming to you from the United Kingdom, where it's currently very sunny and lovely, and we're celebrating Canada on your behalf.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we wouldn't be us without you. Specifically you, Andy. Welcome to the Tea and Timbits podcast, Global Perspectives on Business Development to help you prosper. It is a new month, and we are not just celebrating Confederation, but we are talking about mindset and culture this month. And we thought we'd kick it off at the beginning, just thinking a little bit more about leadership and what it means to set that culture. So we'll get into that. But before we do, Andy, it's your turn to regale us with some of your latest musings.
Yes, I had a couple of meetings that I've sat in on recently, and I wanted to share the perspectives from those because what happened was the same in both meetings, and these were different individuals, but they both performed in the same way. And what they did is when the client very clearly was politely explaining why the business wasn't right for them to move ahead, they immediately slipped into a non-abundant mindset and started almost begging the customer to reconsider. And they immediately positioned themselves from being the authority and the knowledge in the room to being very weak. And this was interesting because I haven't seen it for a while, and I thought I would share it with the customer, because when you are in those situations, it's okay to ask questions, to understand the reasons behind a decision not to go ahead. And we all have those rejections and so on, but we mustn't take it personally, because those are business decisions. Those can be based on a misunderstanding, but you have to be aware that when you're in those meetings, that decision has already been made. You are not going to change that decision in that meeting room, and there are other people involved in that decision, and those people are not probably in the room with you at that time. So trying to convince them, oh, can we take this away? Can we change that? Can we do an alternative version of it? Just makes you look weak. So what you need to do in those situations is absolutely ask questions, seek to understand, but also reaffirm your position and why you believed that you were the right fit in the first place, just to give them that as their lasting memory. The last thing you want to give them as a lasting memory is that you are weak and that you are giving up and that they have made the right choice. You want them to feel that they've made the wrong choice and to reconsider it.
Well, I thank you for sharing. I'm just going to add in that, it's first of all, there's detachment going on here. And I think it doesn't necessarily, I think kind of also what you're getting at, though, is it may not be the last opportunity. It may be a no for now, and it may be that they make a different decision. But if you handle yourself appropriately, there's many scenarios. I mean, most of the time not, but you never want to close the door to when they realize they're wrong, and you want to make sure there's an open posture for rejoining the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So moving into our topic for the month, mindset and culture. I think I'm going to guess you have an opinion as to why we
always have an opinion about everything. You know that.
I'm talking about the context of this episode and
what. Oh yeah, okay.
As to why we put mindset and culture together, because those are kind of two unique things, but obviously we had some intention around putting those together. Thinking about sort of leadership and what it means to set the culture. How much of this do you think is culture naturally emerging versus culture being formed, being shaped, being influenced, being fostered?
I think very often leaders and companies as a whole are guilty of allowing culture to form on its own, and that there is no deliberate structure to it. It's just, oh, well, that's kind of the way we are, right?
Yeah, and I think that
The role of the leader is to shape that, is to decide what the culture is. And it's not about the words that you're saying. It's
mhm,
not the things that you say or how you say them. It's very much more about, I suppose, the behaviors that you would kind of accept as a leader. It's
right.
more of the culture, isn't it? And I think you need to be intentional about that. And it needs to be aspirational.
Mhm.
It can't just be an operations culture. It's got to be something about growth. It's got to be about development and so on. No matter what type of business you have, you can't just stay static. So I think leaders need to define that. And what they must remember as well is what they ignore is also just as important, because that's the same as tolerating it.
Yeah, and that's the point that I was going to add in, which is so often I think I've seen the assumption that, oh my God, and especially as the organization gets larger, you know, I, I'm not a culture person. I can't share. I don't have influence here, like, or, that's a nuanced milieu of all kinds of different influences. Well, if you just take the ignorant approach, like, then it's gonna happen, and you're gonna end up with a culture that you're forced to reckon with. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, listen, if you've got all the right other things ticking along properly,
Mm.
you've got all the other good people and good processes and good teams and whatnot, you will naturally see a good culture emerge. But you need to recognize that there's actually intention behind the fact that it arose there, and it's a side effect of making other good decisions, just as much as a toxic or a poor culture is one that comes about for all the reasons of sort of omitting or thinking that you don't have influence or control or impact on the culture. um,
Mm.
I've seen clients and other businesses where you just know after talking to leadership what you're going to find when you talk to
Absolutely.
other folks within the organization.
That's
Uh,
right.
I've seen it devolve into protectionist attitudes where every employee is like, doubling down on all the communication because they want to make sure that they're never the one that can be sort of accused of making a
Mm.
mistake or things like that. It just, so there's a real sort of out to get you kind of culture, right? And so anyway, yes, your point. I like the point about ignorance is going to be just as influential in shaping the culture as being really
Mm.
intentional about it. So from a leadership perspective, and shaping culture, I think that's a good summary. We've put mindset and culture together, like I also said, sort of to tee this up. So how are those two things equated? Like, where does it split, or is there, or what's the relationship in your mind there?
Well, like I said, I think the key thing is that you must be conscious and deliberate about your culture.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, as you said, that the culture is how your organization acts when you're not in the room, right? That's the
Yeah,
culture. That
yeah,
is the true culture.
right.
And so you have to have a mindset that the way you're acting is going to be what they emulate. And so, you know, yeah, I suppose in those times of crisis, going back to last month, your mindset becomes your message. If you're,
No, I completely
yeah,
agree. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think you've got to lead that kind of, you can have urgency without panic, can't you? And you know, ambition without ego, and you can be decisive about things, but without being too rigid. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making strong decisions, making quick decisions, but there's also having that flexibility is there. But if you lead like that, and you lead with that mindset of everything I do is going to impact my organization and they're going to emulate that behavior, then it puts you in a completely different place, because you've got this, I suppose, this mindset alignment with the culture and the rest of the organization. And there's nothing wrong with even holding meetings, you know, mindset meetings.
Yeah. I was gonna
say, okay, you're gonna go there as well.
No, I was waiting for a chance to bring up something very similar. I'm like, you know what leaders really need to do is they need to collaborate on this mindset.
Okay,
and this culture, and they need to set some accountability for other people to take responsibility for it. And so to the point we made at the beginning of the episode, it's not to deflect responsibility or pass on responsibility. It's to make it a collaborative responsibility. And to make sure that this is the one thing where I think like you definitely need to have intentionally be fostering a collective responsibility for the delivery of this. There are other things in our ecosystems that require teamwork and whatnot, but project-based, right? Or you can delegate task assignment and completion here, but there's no one person that can deliver culture, right? There's a leader here can shape it, can foster it, can organize for it, you know, hopefully doesn't abandon it or ignore it or, you know, move away from it, but then requires of everybody a certain ability to grow that culture, realizing that not everybody's going to contribute and help it grow in the same way.
No, completely that. And I'd just like to say before we, you know, conclude this particular topic, which I think we could go quite a lot further into.
Oh, we will.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I mean, from my perspective, and we may get into it on one of the subsequent episodes, but I work a lot in the area of like sales excellence, commercial excellence, things like that and stuff. And this is a huge part of it. I mean, it's not just a process. You can't achieve sales excellence, you know, by implementing processes. It's very much about implementing a belief system and having people on board on that journey. And they've got to believe in the process. They've got to believe in the outcome. They've got to believe in what they're doing. And you can't do that. You can't do that in a culture that's broken, or that, you know, it is not a high performing culture. You know, people don't burn out in high performing cultures. They don't. They work harder, they work longer hours, they have more pressure, they have more higher, you know, tougher KPIs, but they are successful because the culture is there and they know that people have got their back. In cultures where people are burning out, it's just something wrong.
Yeah. Great addition, right? You know, right at the towards the end here is that whole belief system being so germane to making this work really well. And again, being really intentional about articulating that belief system. I think there's often hesitation in feeling like in a corporate setting you can articulate beliefs, right? Especially ones that are going to influence culture, right? Now listen, every belief is going to shape culture, right? If we believe in profitability and efficiency and whatnot, that is going to express itself, whether you like it or not, in your culture. You can't say one set of corporate beliefs and expect a different culture. It just doesn't work that way. So we're, you know, if so I really like the addition that you made there of working in that sort of belief system into establishing culture and how a leader is going to help foster that. Great chat. Thank you, Andy. So we'll get into more about mindset and culture as we get further through these episodes this month. And if you do want to go back and listen to some of those past episodes, we covered crisis management in June, and we went into closing deals back in May. There's a there's plenty of content to catch up on if you're just tuning in or if you missed some of our episodes. So we invite you to go to teaandtimbits.com to digest all that information, find the links to all of our feeds, get in touch, shoot us a note, let us know if we're on the right track or if you disagree with everything we're saying. Either way, we'd love a little bit of validation. Thanks, Andy. Good chat. We'll see everybody.
Thank you very much, Scott.